Hi, I'm David Gross with Condi Systems, back with you to talk about some of my wisdom for sublimation success. In my article, which I recommend you read, posted on our website, is my 101 tips and tricks for sublimation success. Well, tip number 2 is to create your wall of shame. So when you make a mistake, post it near your heat press so of course you can see it so you don't repeat the mistake. But sometimes mistakes are what I would refer to as learning mistakes, and that in sublimation certainly is something you learn to do, you perfect it, you practice it, you get better at it. One of the challenges for all of us, including me, is when we get to new substrates that we've not pressed before, often we have to start somewhere with our time and temperature and technique. And so what I want to do is I want to show you something that I find very useful that I pass along to clients all the time. And that is when you're doing a substrate, say for the first time, and it doesn't come out good. If it's an expensive substrate or some of the other substrates, it's sort of painful just to say, well, I'll grab another and I'll just try it again. And if you remember the famous quote from Einstein, he said, you know, that insanity is, of course, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And so obviously you need to change something because probably you're going to get the same results. Well, I have here a plaque, and I just pressed it a few seconds ago, and I tried my best, believe it or not, to press under time. But I have the flamethrower over here, the DK20S, and it didn't come out very light to my shock and horror. So I pressed it really short, like 25 seconds. But bottom line is, if you look closely, you can see some modeling here where the transfer didn't do a good job. So my tip for you today is instead of just grabbing another plaque and pressing again, what I recommend you do is take that same plaque and print you a solid black sheet. Now I pressed this sheet, but it was solid black. And what we're going to do is we're going to repress on top of the one we've ruined with, say, a higher time, okay? So that we're not wasting so much product. So for instance, I remember when people started doing the Substrate, it takes a lot of heat, and they were going like, gosh, it didn't turn out perfect. What do I do? And I said, well, go print you a solid black transfer and press again with a longer time and make sure, because sometimes you can be over time, sometimes you can be under time, and we just don't want to waste product. And so right here, I went ahead and I just pressed right on top of it, and if you look closely, which is a little hard to do on the camera, you can see the shadow of the original image that's on here. So it's still there, but for the most part now you can look at the black and see, hey, we've done a good job with the transfer. We had adequate pressure, adequate time, and so forth. Now, let's say you're doing some of the more complicated products for the very first time, and you know you really don't know what to do. So because maybe your press is not putting out a lot of heat, you know, which is some of the smaller presses, what you could do instead of printing the solid black transfer, you could actually make you up black strips, and you could press in a different section each time with, say, a higher time or a lower time until you find that sweet spot where that strip really looks good. And so that's very helpful when we're looking at some of these substrates that we're struggling with. And in general, our instructions should nail it for you. They should tell you really close where it is. But as the folks out there know in sublimation land, every heat press is a little bit different. It's at really a different temperature, maybe what the gauge says. Plus, what really cooks the product, of course, is raw heat. It's not the temperature. You know, it's like having a teeny tiny space heater in your bathroom and having a big space heater in your bathroom. They're both at the same temperature, but that little one just isn't going to do much. And so this tip is to help you avoid just wasting product over and over again. So take a product you wasted like this, that you underpressed it, or maybe you didn't use enough pressure, and take it and press it again, except this time put a solid black transfer so you'll know if you did a good job. Now the reason we choose black is because black is the last color to sublimate. So if we do a good job with black, we're probably going to do a good job with the transfer. Another little useful tip is if you overpress black on mini printers, say some of the Ricos, your black can turn brown. So be aware of that, especially on some of the inexpensive metals. If you overpress the black on those, it's definitely going to turn brown. So again, just paying attention, and after you've dialed it in, after you know what you do, the next step is tip number 1, document it. Document your formula for success so that you won't have any trouble at all coming back to it. Now don't do like some of us do. Says, well, I'll remember it. I couldn't possibly forget that I pressed it for 2 minutes, 20 seconds. Well, you will. And you want to share that information. You want to show people what works so they can repeat it. You don't want to go through the learning curve again and again every time you start doing stuff. So document it. Ultimately, for your most common products, post that sheet near your heat press so you'll know exactly what to do. Won't have to think about it. You're on autopilot, and you're going to have high success out there. Okay, this tip obviously relies on sublimating on top of what we've already done. And the good news, we can do that. We can move from a lighter color to a dark color. We can move from yellow to a color between yellow and black. We can't move lighter, and of course we use this tip and trick all the time with the vapor colored shirts. So again, this has been David Gross with Condi Systems. I appreciate your feedback. You can email me at dgross@condi.com. Till we meet again, thank you.